well. He'd already been doing it for 4 years at this point with his ex. And people's faces are just like gobsmacked, putting pieces of this puzzle together, because now a pattern has been revealed. They're realizing that all of the girls that Dimitri dates end up in the porn industry. It's interesting, isn't it? And then they actually bring out Margarita herself, and you would think that it'd be all like drama and catfighting, but it's honestly just a really tough watch. Margarita is very emotional, very sensitive. She is shaking from the very start. She talks very quietly, very nervously. She keeps trying not to cry throughout this whole episode. Compared to Anna, who is scoffing and back-chatting and giggling her way through this experience, you can't help but feel so sad for Margarita. As soon as she sits down, her and Anna start getting into it. Anna is accusing Margarita of being jealous and of copying her. She says things like, "You're wearing my clothes, babe. You go where I go." She really is playing into this villain persona. But the host asks Margarita, "Do you still love your ex-boyfriend?" And she says no. And so the host asks if she's jealous of Anna, and Margarita says not at all. He then asks if he thinks that Anna and Dimitri's marriage will last, and she says absolutely not. He's just using her. Margarita believes Dimitri specifically targeted Anna because she is relatively well known in their area. She's a known tattoo artist, a public figure with a pre-existing audience, a following on TikTok that he can tap into and take advantage of. That is why he ditched his normal wife, his normie wife, for a girl with followers. Margarita tells everyone that the reason she agreed to make porn with Dimitri in the first place, like when they were together, when they were married, was because it had been his idea and she was just agreeing so that he wouldn't leave her. Now, I don't know if he'd ever specifically threatened to leave her if she didn't make this porn with him, or if it was more of a, what's the word, like a subtle kind of coercion into making porn. He'd planted the idea in her head that he could leave her if she doesn't, and so she did it. I'm not entirely sure. If that is the case, if Margarita was only engaging in this porn creation because she was scared that he was going to leave her, that is really serious and really, really sad. But yeah, Margarita was very, very brave to say all of this on the TV. Meanwhile, Anna is keeping up this villain persona. She was a little weapon on this show. She's making it very clear that she doesn't believe Margarita. She doesn't believe what this woman is saying. She is just accusing Margarita of being bitter that Dimitri left her and now he's with Anna. She tells Margarita, without him, you're no one. I can provide for myself. I can make money. I have a bunch of professions. She's kind of saying that, yeah, she is a girl boss and Margarita was only making money because of Dimitri. And I'm going to be so honest. I know I've been saying that Anna's really playing up this villain persona. This doesn't look good on Anna, but I think it speaks to something much deeper, much, much deeper that's going on. This incredibly defensive, egotistical argumentation just reveals how insecure Anna really is. Sitting here arguing with her husband's ex-wife of 5 years is kind of a conscious reminder. It's a confrontation with the fact that she wasn't his first or only choice in a lover. It all stems from years and years of being forgotten about, years of being neglected, years of being made to feel like she was a last choice, like how she felt throughout her whole entire childhood. This situation, being confronted with Margarita, is very triggering for Anna. She's peacocking to maintain some sense of control over the situation, but it does just come off looking quite mean. Trauma responses can often be quite ugly in this way, and I think we have to just be mindful of where it's probably coming from. On this show, Margarita gives a lot of interesting context into Dimitri, what kind of man he had been throughout their happy years, and then what kind of man he had been in the end when he chose to end it all with her. She says that one day he just came home, I sounded well Yorkshire then, he came home, packed up all his stuff, and told her that he doesn't love her anymore. And the host asked Margarita, well, do you want him back? And she said, no, I don't need a man who once raised a hand against me. Dimitri has been revealed as a physical abuser, on top of the psychological abuse that we already know about. And the audience is just taken aback. When Margarita says that, everyone on the panel was shocked, but not Anna. Margarita even revealed that on the day that Dimitri left her, he strangled her. But before she'd even finished recounting this story, Anna interrupted her to say that it was in self-defense, that Margarita attacked him first, and so Dimitri was justified in strangling her.
А сейчас хотите его вернуть?
Нет, мне не нужен мужчина, который поднимал на меня когда-то руку. Да, он когда приезжал за вещами, он душил меня.
Бил или защищался, она нападала на него с острыми предметами, потому что она истеричка, она истерила. Есть свидетели, они вызывали даже полицию. Если бы он реально что-то сделал или как-то физически на нее повоздействовал, его бы элементарно хотя бы забрали, правильно?
So the host turns to Anna's mum in this moment when she'd interrupted that to defend this man. The host turned to Anna's mum and said, like, does this not scare you that your daughter is married to this man and she is defending this man? And Anna's mum basically laughs it off. She says, well, this isn't the Dimitri I know. Anna's mother said that the Dimitri she knows, the Dimitri that she has seen firsthand, has always been quite shy and timid. Honestly, she said that she was frankly quite confused and in disbelief of Margarita's stories about him. She thought that Margarita had gotten up there and lied about Dimitri.
Елена, вас не пугает все то, что рассказывает Маргарита про вашего зятя? Или он, по-вашему, совершенно другой? Каким вы его видите?
Я его знаю-то. Он спокойно. При мне он спокойный. Стеснительный такой весь. Обходительный при мне такой. Я близко вот эти истории все.
Anna's mother, her own mother, didn't think that Dimitri was capable of that kind of abuse, which is a very scary concept, you know, that you're hearing it firsthand from a previous victim. And, you know, sometimes people do lie about things like that. And I get that you have to use your discernment. But when your daughter is married to a man that is being accused of things of that caliber, of strangling Margarita, I would not be defending that man. I would be honestly terrified. I would be taking my daughter to counselling and, you know, really getting to the bottom of it. I think it's so upsetting that she's sitting there, that everyone is sitting there essentially invalidating Margarita and the account that she is giving, in essence, to save Anna from this man that had done all these awful things to her, yet she's being ridiculed. And just when you think that this can't escalate any further, out comes the diabolical man of the hour, Dimitri. He walks onto the set, and for a start, he is just not what you would expect. Obviously, I'd seen pictures of him before as we were researching for this, but it was his energy that really got me. It's the way that he carries himself. He just comes across so awkward and meek, honestly like a loser. He looks and acts like a loser. After having watched these two girls arguing over him the way that they were, as an audience, when he walks out, you're like, is that it? Is that him? Is that who we're arguing over? Girls, really? But anyway, Dimitri comes out, he goes and sits next to Anna, and the host asks him, why did he leave Margarita for Anna? And immediately, Dimitri is so cruel. He says, well, look at them both. Don't you see the difference? Rich as fuck, coming from someone who, quite frankly, looks like they negotiated their way onto this planet. For the audio-only listeners, Margarita is a very pretty girl. He is just being mean and bitter for the sake of it. She has this long, wavy hair. She clearly takes care of her appearance. And I'm going to be so honest, both of these girls are so obviously out of Dimitri's league. The fact that he even dares to compare them in that way is sickening. Dimitri harps on about how Margarita is hysterical, which is, of course, the go-to word throughout history to describe a woman who is acting out, aka expressing her emotions, and she's hysterical. Like, is she really hysterical, or did you just abuse her physically and psychologically? Did you force her into porn? Did you cheat on her, gaslight her, and now is she expressing all of that agony? Is that what it is? I think that's what it is. The panel try and get through to Anna and say that, like, if he beat his last girlfriend, then what's stopping him doing that to you too? They're saying, look how badly he is talking about Margarita on national TV. So what's to say that he will not do the same thing to Anna in a couple of years' time? But it's clear that Anna sees Dimitri as a hero in her life. There was a segment in the program where she's showing off all of the expensive gifts that he bought her. There were fur coats and makeup and obviously the car, the art equipment. But Anna can't see that all of these gifts that Dimitri is buying her are essentially bought by herself because it's all through her work. At best, he is an assistant. He books in her tattoo appointments, helps her schedule her influencer content, not to mention that she is the focal point of the porn that they create. Practically all of this money should be Anna's. But Anna is so convinced that she needs Dimitri to survive and to thrive. And he keeps her believing this because then she'll do whatever he asks of her. One of Anna's friends is then brought out onto the stage to give her input on all of this. And she says, no matter how much I love her, I still believe he pressured her into doing sex work. I don't think she'd have started on her own. I think she only got interested in it because she knew that he'd been filming with his ex before. So the host asked her friend, do you think Dimitri will leave Anna if she at some point refuses to be in the videos anymore? And the friend says, yeah, I think he might try to find a replacement. The show eventually concludes with all of them trying to tell Anna to stop seeing her relationship with Dimitri through rose-tinted glasses. She needs to understand that Dimitri might leave her the same way that he left Margarita, violence and all. But Anna just thinks it's impossible. She thinks that he would never do that to her. Anna does, however, show a softer side towards the end of this episode. They start focusing in on her mother and how her mother is so devastated and with her porn career specifically. Anna has brought shame on the family, And I'm going to be so real with you all. I have very minimal sympathy for this because Anna is at this point, I think she was like 23. She is a fully grown adult woman with her own agency. But she does soften a little bit on her mum, and she really reflects on how this has been making her mum feel. And she says that she would consider stopping if that's what her mum wanted, because, quote, my relationship with my mum is more important to me. And even Dimitri, agrees with this angle. He said it would be fine if Anna wanted to quit doing the porn. But 3 months after Dimitri said that everything would be fine, Anna would go missing. Now, before we get into the rest of the episode, I want to talk about a really important charity that somewhat links back to Anna's childhood growing up in a hostel. Today, I want to shine a spotlight on a charity called ACT that helps LGBTQ plus teenagers and young adults who are experiencing homelessness across England to find accommodation. Once that basic need for shelter is met, ACT also introduces these individuals to youth groups, assigns them a mentor, and invites them to events and workshops where they can build a community for themselves. Between 2023 and 2024, 50% of homeless young people ACT helped had tried to contact their local authority first, but they'd either had a negative experience or they'd faced a super long waiting list or they felt dismissed. They just felt generally hopeless. 90% of the teenagers that ACT helped find housing and shelter had actually been sleeping rough before contacting the charity. And we're talking about 16, 17-year-olds here. A lot of these teens were homeless because it just wasn't safe for them to be at home because they were LGBT. This charity and their purpose is honestly so amazing and so close to our hearts. Their website has so many great resources. Of course, it's going to be linked in the description of this episode. So if you or someone young that you know is in danger or has already been made homeless just for existing as themselves, please contact ACT. Like I say, their link will be in the description, along with our link tree that is always in the description of our episodes, and that is also filled with so many great charities, resources, organizations, as always. If you're looking for any kind of help, hopefully you can find it in our link tree, and specifically a huge shout out to ACT. So, when we last left Anna around April time filming the show, life seemed great, or at least she insisted that it was. That Dimitri loved her, he cared for her, they were making a shit ton of money together. But actually, there had since been trouble in paradise. Things had taken a Dua Lipa full 180. Dimitri had quit all of his own work at this point, because he was doing like the odd IT job, wasn't he? Especially when he was with Margarita. But now he'd quit all of that and he was relying solely on Anna's income. As a result, the two of them had been arguing a lot. Like, it was causing a lot of trouble for them. And Anna had told her mum that she was actually debating leaving Dmitry. Not even just leaving Dmitry, leaving Russia entirely. In less than 2 months, Anna had gone from defending him and their relationship so vehemently on national TV to planning her escape from him. She had begun selling her things, saving up money, and her plan was actually to move to South Korea. I think she fancied like a whole new fresh start, a new chapter. She loved Asian culture. She had a few friends out in Korea. She had big plans to open up her own tattoo studio out there. She could really see herself thriving. But that was only half of the reason that Anna was planning to leave. It seems that Anna had met someone new. A hot new bombshell had turned her head, allegedly. He was another TikToker called Kirill, and the streets are saying that the two of them had grown very close. And now I don't want to make any direct claims, but if the streets were right, and Anna was seeing Kirill, this TikToker, then it would have overlapped with her marriage to Dmitry, for sure. Apparently, Anna had confided in Kirill because, I mean, they were definitely friends. They were definitely close friends. It's just the vagueness about, like, the nature of their relationship. Like, were they fucking? I don't know. I actually don't know. But they were very close friends, and she had confided in Kirill about her issues with Dmitry, about how he was draining her and refusing to work, refusing to get his own job, only leeching off her. She was building up a lot of resentment towards this man. She had grown to hate him, and she couldn't wait to completely cut the ties between them when she moved to South Korea. By the last week of July, Dmitry had moved out of Anna's apartment, and the two of them had completely broken up. Now, frustratingly, we couldn't find much information on this breakup at all, like how it went, how Dmitry reacted in the immediate aftermath. I don't know. But what we do know is that Anna was full steam ahead with her plan to leave him in the dust. She had started the process of selling all of her cars, and once they were gone, she would divorce him, and then she was free, and then she could go to South Korea. Now, I don't think Dmitry knew of her plans to go to Korea. Obviously, at this point, they'd broken up, he'd moved out, but maybe there was a lingering thought in his mind that he could get her back, that he could win her over again. After all, they were married now, so maybe this was just like a bit of a blip that they could come back from. But Anna didn't see it that way at all. On July 31st, she met up with Kirill, this TikToker, for a few hours, and they had a great time, or at least Kirill thought they did. But later that night, when they parted ways, she suddenly dumped him over text. She said that she didn't want to see him anymore. They were over. She was done with him. And he found it so weird. It was so unexpected. Like I say, they had gotten on so well that night. There was no signs whatsoever she wanted to cut this connection. He thought they liked each other. He thought that they were getting on really well. It was just weird because it didn't seem like Anna. It didn't seem like the Anna that he had literally just met up with an hour previous. The next week, Kirill watched Anna's social media continue as normal. She was posting her selfies, promoting her courses, selling all of her clothes before she moved away. He didn't think much of it. Meanwhile, Anna's mum and friends were sensing a bit of a change in her. They were still hearing from her, but it was starting to feel weird. As the days went by, it just didn't sound like Anna. She wasn't taking any new videos or pictures of herself. Everything that she was posting on socials seemed like pre-done. The content was pre-made. She wasn't streaming live. She wasn't even answering phone calls. The only communication that she was having with people was over like written text message. So was Anna even really there? Suspicion was mounting, but the truth of the situation would remain hidden for 6 more days. 3 days into this weirdness, Dmitry met up with some friends, one of which was a mutual friend that he shared with Anna. We're going to call her Lila. I'm going to be so real. The reason we're giving her another name is because she was also called Anna, and I think it just gets a little bit confusing. So Lila is at this hangout, and Dmitry shows up, and he starts sharing some very personal secrets with the group. He was saying that at the start of his relationship with Anna, she said to him that if she ever gets so unbearably miserable, because bear in mind, she had had depression all her life, which is so devastating. Like, from a child, she had always been so sorrowful. And so Dimitri was saying that Anna had said to him when they first got together, if I ever get so depressed that I want to die, would he promise to murder her and put her out of her misery when she least expected it? Something of a twisted suicide pact, or more like an assisted suicide pact, that he says that they had genuinely agreed to. He lives, she dies, everyone's happy, supposedly.
Want to know how Cleopatra kept herself entertained? Discovering endless treasure. Betty lets you play Cleopatra slots for just $1. And 90% of withdrawals are instant. No need to wait for your treasure.
Now, like I said, it was no secret that Anna struggled with her depression. Her entire friend group knew this. So it wasn't that crazy, but this kind of deal, for Dimitri to be so honest, so open, and say, like, this was an agreed deal, that really shocked Lila specifically. She just didn't quite believe that Anna would actually get to that point of asking someone to murder her when she's least expecting it. Anyway, Dimitri keeps talking, and as he does, he said that Anna had recently been asking, begging him to murder her for ages, until a few days ago when he finally gave in. So Lila's like, what do you mean? Are you saying that you killed Anna? And he says, yeah, I stabbed her to death. She is in the bathtub as we speak. So Lila freaks the fuck out, as I think anyone would, and Dimitri's telling her, yo, chill out, I'm dealing with it. He told her, don't contact the police, you don't need to, because I'm either gonna turn myself in or I'm gonna kill myself. Like, I'm gonna solve this one way or another. Not that that solves anything. Lila is in shock, to say the least. Not only is she finding out that one of her friends is dead, this is the first mention of Anna being dead in a week, but she's finding out that another one of her friends is revealed to be the murderer. So Lila is sitting there trying to make sense of this whole thing. Like, is this actually assisted suicide, as he says? Was it consensual? Or was this murder? Was this cold-blooded, against Anna's will? Was she killed by this man, and did she have any idea that it was actually going to happen? A week passes, and Dimitri is not only still alive, but he is still walking free. He has not handed himself in like he said he would. Instead, he's trying to hatch an escape plan. More and more of Anna's things were appearing for sale online, and Dimitri had actually applied for an extension on the lease of Anna's apartment where they live together. So he's not handing himself in. In fact, I don't really know what he is doing, because his plan looks so messy. He's selling all of her things, yet he's applying for an extension on the lease but that's only keeping his ties to Anna. If he had actually murdered her, what's he doing? What is he doing? But basically, Lila is seeing all of this, and she knows that she needs to do something now. In fact, she knew that she needed to do something in the first place, but I assume a mixture of fear and sheer disbelief stopped her from actually doing anything. So on the 9th of August, Lila calls the police and she tells them about Dimitri's confession. She begged them to go and meet her, to meet Lila at Anna's apartment so that they could investigate without Dimitri. So the police come down to the apartment, and once they've broken down the door, they realize that not a single living soul was inside that house. Dimitri had disappeared, and a crime scene was left in his wake. Just as he had described, Anna's corpse was laying in the bathtub. She had been there for at least a week, decomposing. She'd been stabbed 13 times. She was only 26 years old and on the brink of starting an entire new chapter in her life. But someone, almost definitely Dimitri, had taken that away from her. Dimitri was the prime suspect. A manhunt was launched, and he was actually found within 24 hours and arrested. He really hadn't gone far. He was hiding out at a motel about 30 minutes away. So Dimitri is arrested and brought back to the police station. As the awful news is being broken to Anna's friends and family. Not only is Anna dead, but that horrendous gut feeling that they had had all week was confirmed. Anna had been acting weird online and through messages because it wasn't Anna at all. All those messages sent, the sales made, the content uploaded, her new situationship, Kirill, getting dumped, it had all been Dmitry on the other end of the phone, pretending to be the woman that he had just murdered the entire time. So, what happened to Anna? Of course, police managed to piece together a story of the night that she died based on forensics and evidence. So, July 31st, the night that Anna went and met up with that TikTok boy, Kirill, everything had been great, but later that same night, Dmitry had gone to Anna's flat. And we don't really know what led to this, whether she invited him in or if he forced his way in, but either way, when Dmitry stepped inside her apartment, he would have realized that Anna was packing up all of her things and moving. Her stuff was everywhere. There were boxes, suitcases, clothes piled up waiting to be sold. Anna was serious about leaving Russia, and it was happening soon, like quicker than he could have conceptualized. And remember, once Anna leaves Russia, that's it. Dmitry can't follow her. He's not allowed to leave the country. And during that evening, it's very possible that he found out not only about her plan to move to South Korea, but he may have also learnt about her situationship with Kirill. When Dmitry was questioned by the police, he recounted the events of that night, and it sounds like a jealous rage, like a hysterical man losing his control over this woman. He told the police that he and Anna got into a fight that evening. He had lost his temper and completely lost his mind. He said that he stabbed her with a knife, he panicked, and then he fled. Dmitry would actually only tell police this story once, and then very quickly, basically that same day, he changed his story. He reverted back to the story that he told Lila and their group of friends about this like assisted suicide pact that Anna had been begging for him to murder her when she least expected. We actually have quotes from a series of Instagram stories that Dmitry's friend posted saying, yes, he killed her and he admitted it, but understand it's more complicated than just that. There was no fight or schizophrenic outburst. It happened because Anna wanted him to kill her. I know it's hard to believe, but she hated her life. She was miserable and couldn't bear it any longer. But she couldn't do it herself. She'd asked a lot of friends to kill her in the past, and after she'd asked Dmitry 3 times, he finally agreed. It's terrible and disgusting, and I can't get over it. I'm shaking because Dmitry is actually a good person, but this was both of their choices. Everything that happens next you will find out on the news. Please don't judge. It shouldn't have happened this way. I wish I could go back to before, but nothing can be fixed here. Please stop posting nonsense about this case. And that is from Dmitry's friend. Of course, Anna's murder, this case, was a top news story. After all, she had like 300k followers watching her. Her disappearance was never going to happen quietly, nor the news of her death. People were going to talk. People had already had questions. Dmitry was begging Russian authorities to keep him hidden and out of the press. But what was the point? Everyone knew who he was. Everyone had seen him, both in and out of clothes. So I don't know why he was getting all privacy is paramount at this point. Sounds like the moves of a hysterical man to me. Just using that word hysterical that he liked to use about women. It's his turn to be hysterical. So Dmitry's trial was set for the upcoming January of 2023. In the meantime, he was taken back to the scene of the crime to reenact for the police what he alleged happened that night. Now, there's videos of this online, of him being taken to Anna's bedroom. He's shackled up, he's in his handcuffs, and he is holding a dummy body and stabbing it. And it's a really tough watch because in reality, that wasn't a dummy. That was Anna. That was a real woman bleeding. On January the 22nd, 2023,
The
Dimitri
test for the fire alarm
pled
is
guilty
finished,
to Anna's murder,
so everything
admitting
back
that
to
after
normal
he
at
stabbed
this
her,
point. And
she died in
okay,
his lap.
okay, thank you.
And then he carried
Have a
her
good
into
day.
the bathroom and placed her body in the tub. He was then buying time to dispose of her body by replying to people, using her phone on her accounts, pretending that she was still alive, which is one of the sickest parts of this whole thing to me. Just to think of like her friends and family messaging who they think is Anna, the whole time they have no idea that she is dead in a bathtub. And it's her murderer that is talking to them. Oh. In the sentencing, the judge said that Dimitri attacked Anna out of jealousy. Whether it was over discovering her relationship with Kirill, or her plans to move abroad, or just being cut off from her financially, they'd been split up for 4 months. It's not known exactly what sparked this jealous rage, but those would be the obvious contenders. Dimitri was sentenced to only 8 years in a maximum security prison for this. Now, obviously, 8 years for murder is quite frankly a fucking joke, but I will say that the prison that Dimitri was sent to is known as the torture chamber. He was sent to the IK3 penal colony in Siberia, Russia, which is nicknamed Polar Wolf because of how cold and dark it is. It's basically dark all day. Temperatures reach minus 20 degrees. Inmates are reportedly made to stand outside for hours while they're pelted with water hoses, dressed in barely anything in minus 20 degrees. This prison is fucking brutal, man. It's known for beating and suffocating prisoners, humiliation tactics, tear gassing. So many prisoners, inmates, have committed suicide just to escape that prison. So maybe it is only an 8-year sentence, but it is 8 years of pure hell. And none of it brings Anna back. Anna's funeral was privately held, but her mum allowed camera crews to come in and film and take pictures of the whole thing for a fee. She was paid to let people get coverage of her daughter's funeral. Now, this didn't go down well. A lot of people thought that it was weird, it was exploitative to make money off of your daughter's funeral, kind of like pay-per-view vibes. Anna's entire family attended the funeral, even her estranged father. Apparently, her grandma wouldn't speak to her mum and stayed on opposite sides of the funeral hall to her. They didn't interact at all, which might lead us to believe that her grandma didn't agree with the camera crews being in attendance at the funeral either. But the coverage of Anna's life and death, however, didn't end there. Remember the TV talk show that Anna went on with her mum and Dimitri and Margarita? Well, they made a part 2 after Anna's murder. And this part 2 involved Lila, the friend who called the police, the one that Dimitri confessed to. She went on that same talk show along with Anna's mum and a few others once again, and this is where